My guest today is Layne Dalfen, an expert dream analyst. She has a certificate in Gestalt counseling and was a board member of the International Association for the Study of Dreams. Besides numerous TV and radio appearances, Layne writes monthly columns at Oprah Daily, Psychology Today, and Hampton Sheet. In today's episode, we talk about the value of understanding the language of dreams and how you can find solutions to long-term change. Welcome to Lifeology.
Thank you so much, James. It's so nice to be back.
Yes, my viewers and listeners may not remember this, but I think it was about 4 years ago, Layne was on my show and she taught us so much. So if you go to the show notes at jamesmiller.lifeology.com, I will put that original show in the show notes. So you can click on that and hear her backstory, how she became the amazing woman that she is. Here, learn more about her books, Have a Great Dream, books 1 and 2. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But definitely, it was a great show. So I'm super excited to have you back on my show today. You've taught me so much. We were talking in the pre-call about some of those things. So you're going to once again teach us a lot of things today. How did you get involved in the dream world?
Well, I got involved in the dream world because 50 years ago, you heard that correctly. 50 years ago, I had my first of 4 daughters who was born with Down syndrome. And I, of course, seems reasonable that I became depressed and landed in the office of a brilliant Freudian analyst. And so because I wasn't so well able to articulate my feelings in my early 20s, it didn't matter because I'm a dreamer. And I used to go to the sessions with the shrink, always arriving with a dream. And so that was the first place where I learned this. Most important thing I'm going to say. A dream is an interior conversation. It is a problem-solving conversation that takes place between your conscious and your unconscious mind. And there's 2 things going on simultaneously because the unconscious is so sophisticated that we are actually multitasking. So on a surface level, because the dream, another important point, the dream is triggered at the first level by something you either thought about yesterday or something that happened to you. So on a surface level, we are problem solving something that's bugging you today. And then there's also ways to look deeper into the dream, which we will discuss a little later on. But the key, now that you know that the dream is addressing a very specific current issue, my job and the dreamer's job, more importantly, is for me to help you uncover what's the situation that you were discussing with yourself when you had that crazy dream. And then once we understand what the solution is, then we can look for what a solution looks like when it comes in the form of a metaphor. And that's what I do. So I'll just jump ahead.
I want to hear all this.
And I'll just tell you, there are 6 points of entry that I developed. It's a method that anybody can use, and you'll never have to wonder why you had that dream again. So if nothing else, then that's good right there by itself.
That's good.
These are the 6 points of entry: the feelings, the action, the symbols, which are people, places, and things, play on words and puns, because we use them constantly in our dreams, just as much as we do in our waking life. The plot and the repetition, because you remember from school, read it, write it, recite it. Read it, write it, recite it. And we do that in our dreams. So if you don't get it the first time, don't worry. Your unconscious is going to give it to you again and again, even inside the same dream, so that you'll get what the discussion is about.
So let me ask you this. So when people have, when they have a dream of something, like, okay, this makes sense. So sometimes the scenario makes sense, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. How do you connect the 2 aspects between, so this is what I was thinking about, but the scenario in my dream is different, but this is really what it's about? How do you connect those 2 so people understand that?
But usually you get that aha. And it doesn't matter which point of entry you use. Just use the one that feels right or that feels the most comfortable, you know? And I'm going to give you actually an example. I'm just going to actually read what she said. this woman
Mhm.
who's standing in a field. I actually have two airplane examples today,
Okay.
one of the
Okay.
surface and one that's deeper. And so this woman is standing in a field, and fragments of a plane, she said this language, not me. She
Mhm.
said, the plane is breaking up and it's coming at me so
Wow.
fast that I was saying to myself, I can't run away from this. I'm accepting my fate. And then she said, then I
Interesting.
resurfaced in the water, wondering how I got there. So the dream was about a breakup. That's why
Yeah,
the
that's what I
plane
thought.
is
Yeah.
breaking up.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
I
because
heard the
she
breakup
was
like gives a play on words.
experiencing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And how healthy is it that she says it's coming at me so fast? And what is the dreamer saying to herself in the dream? What is she rehearsing? Because a
Yeah.
dream is a rehearsal. You're
Mhm.
practicing how you want to respond to the people
Mm.
or situation that you're facing this week. And what is she saying? She's saying to myself, I'm accepting my fate. And the minute she
Interesting.
decides that she's accepting her fate, the next thing you see is that she resurfaces in
Strong
water
word.
because
Yeah.
that
Which is
girl is going
healing.
to
Yeah.
survive. When I
Yes,
heard that
yes.
dream, the first thing I said was, I'm so not worried about you because you're
Mm.
rehearsing surviving and you
Mm.
are going to survive and you're accepting
Yes.
what's coming at you, which is
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, which is a form of
So,
radical acceptance. Yeah, so in psychology, radical acceptance, you accept the facts as they are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't let someone off the hook. It doesn't justify anyone's behaviors. These are the facts. Now, what do I do with these facts?
right. And you get it from the play on words that the plane
Mm-hmm.
is breaking up. And you also get the solution. It's an action, point of entry
Yeah,
solution, because she takes action to say, I'm accepting my fate.
I'm
I can't
accepting.
run away from this. So she's not
Wow.
going to be one of those girls who's calling
Mm-hmm.
this guy over and over again because trying
Yeah,
to
no,
get something back. That's not what's going on here. And I think it's
that's
great.
wow. The resilience you hear
I have
from that.
another quick example, which
Mm-hmm.
is also oh, I love this one. I forgot I was even using this example. But this is also another one picture dream, which are sometimes so filled with wealth. This
mm,
woman is dreaming that she's somewhere and it feels like Turks, she said, because the ocean
mm,
is so calm and so blue. And she is in the uh, shallow end. She's in the
mm,
shallow end. I love that also. And she's
mm-hmm.
just floating calmly with a friend of hers who, when I asked her using a symbol's point of entry, I asked her, tell me two or three things about that woman. What is it about her personality? And the first
Mm.
thing that came out of her mouth is that she's so calm and clear. So there you hear the repeating.
Interesting.
She's in
Yeah.
calm, clear water with a
Water. Yep.
calm, clear friend. And she looks over and sees a huge tsunami wave in the distance and starts to get anxious and tells her friend, look at that wave, there's a tsunami coming. But the friend doesn't react. She maintains her
Mm.
calm. And this dream was a reflection about the dreamer's husband was waiting on tests, the results of a cancer test.
Oh.
And she had made a conscious decision that she was not going to spend this time, these few weeks, freaking herself out for no reason before she gets the results. And so
Mm.
that this was again a rehearsal. And the dreams often provide us with a safe place to rehearse a behavior. We do it in the dreams, we get ready, and then we take the behavior outside to waking life,
Interesting.
and it turns into what I call been there, done that, because you've been
Mm.
practicing in your dreams. And it turned
Yeah.
out that her idea was correct because the results came back fine. So
Mm.
she put herself in this calm place with a calm person. And that leads me to a deeper look, because when I'm a first things first kind of girl, and I want to know first what's the behavior, that you are
Hmm.
displaying, because that gives me the point where I could drill down deeper. Because if
Yeah.
you're a person who never speaks up for yourself, it doesn't really
Hmm.
matter if we look at a dream from 3 weeks ago or we look at a dream next week. We will probably find the knee jerk, over exercised repeatingness of you not speaking up.
Sure.
We'll
Yeah.
find it in
Yes.
so many different situations. And so you'll
Hmm.
get the surface response. But if I want to go deeper with a dreamer, I could look at one surface dream and drill down. I know where to drill down to get
Mm.
something richer.
Yes. So now those dreams were dreams, my words, of resilience, of finding that peace in the storm. Individuals who may not have that, is it more your subconscious is telling a person how, I don't want to say encouraging the person, or it gives them how they're going to perhaps react. And then if they're going to react a certain way, then in their conscious life, they can change. Like, I don't want to react that way. Let me do something different. But is it
I
more in the
love
sense
it.
of, yeah, so
Yes,
because that's what I think, it's interchangeable in that respect. So it's
it,
one is
it
telling you
is.
how it's going to be or how you can change it. And it just depends on which, if you're
And
look
it's
at the awake
also
version of the subconscious.
right. We are so sophisticated, by the way, James. And you know this already. It is not random who appears in
Hmm.
your dream, how
Yeah.
and when. And that sort of gives us the door to the deeper look that I want to talk about. Because,
Yeah.
and if I put up, I'm just going to put up the wallpaper. So we're all standing in the same room here.
Hmm.
And that is the premise that all of us arrive in the world whole. We come here and we arrive with a plethora of potential, I call it. We
Hmm.
could
Yeah.
be shy, assertive, we could be selfish, giving, a hero, a chicken, a comedian. Maybe you were
Hmm.
the person who was more serious in the family.
Yeah.
We could be calm, we can be nervous. Maybe you're outspoken, maybe you keep it all in. And so you come in with everything. You've got it all. And the people that bring us up through no fault of their own,
Yeah.
it's much more about how they were brought up. But the
Correct.
people who bring us up teach us that some ways are allowed and other ways are not allowed. So we become, I like to liken this to exercise in a gym. We become over exercised in some
Mm.
aspects of our personality. And I also like to call it your knee jerk reaction. That's what you've been
Okay.
doing for your whole
Hmm.
life, practicing that knee jerk response. And the only problem with a knee jerk response is that life throws you every different kind of situation. I mean,
So it
I've
does.
had
Yeah.
a divorce, I had a handicapped child, my first husband passed away, I'm in a
Mm.
second marriage, I had another baby, like I had cancer. Like, oh my God, life
Sure. Yeah.
throws you a million different situations, and you don't want to be stuck with your knee jerk, over
Correct.
exercised
Hmm.
response to everything that happens. And so it's the under exercised, shadowy, unfamiliar aspects of your personality that appear in your
Interesting.
dream, not by random. And that's why that girl who had the dream about Turks, she
Hmm.
was with her friend who really is a calm person, because that
Mm.
friend represents that potential inside the dreamer. And
Interesting.
it's her
Interesting.
under exercised, shadowy part of her personality
Hmm.
that she decided to be in the water with. So
Hmm.
she's already in the gym. I call that in the gym, because she's
Yeah.
already
Makes sense.
exercising that muscle. Yeah,
It's I find that incredibly fascinating. So people, when Lainey's talking about the shadow, so there's the persona and the shadow. There's a part that we show to the world, and there's a part of us that's, like she said, the underdeveloped side. So for her to say we're brought into this world with 100% potential and many different facets, what that means is the persona that you show. That's what you, like you said, the practice this all the time. If you're stubborn, if you're obstinate, whatever that is. But then the shadow side is going to be the opposite of that, which is the underdeveloped side. So when people can say, I'm outspoken, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not vulnerable. Well, I'm assuming in their unconscious state, they're going to see that more vulnerable, tender side. That's probably going to come out. And so the way
exactly.
mirror all that and lump it all together to create the whole person is what our dreams pretty much tell us, or how they
Exactly.
help us work through all
And,
that.
and think for just a minute how powerful you become
Mm.
when you're not stuck, when you've got a big bag of possible responses and reactions
Mm-hmm.
to the people and situations in your life. Like for me personally, and you know this about me already, there's no such thing as good or bad, right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's all about appropriateness. Am I
Yes.
responding to today's situation in the most appropriate way? So I was brought up by a European dad, and I learned to become over exercised in shutting up and under exercised in speaking up, because it was
Mm.
considered disrespectful to say to my father when I was 7, if he was yelling at me, "Excuse me, I don't like how you're talking to me right now," because that would not have gone over well.
Not a word,
But
yeah.
so today, if I'm with my bank manager and I want money from this man and I don't like how he speaks, I don't like his tone of voice or something, this would
Mm-hmm.
be an opportunity for me to use my knee jerk reaction. It's appropriate. I want money from
Mm-hmm.
him. And on the
Yeah.
other hand, if my husband or one of my kids opens up a big mouth to me, I don't want to be stuck with my knee jerk reaction. I
Yeah,
need to
exactly.
be able to access my voice. And your dreams give you the solution every single time, she said, after 50 years of looking at dreams.
Mm.
The dream always gives you the response. It's right there waiting for you. May I give
I,
you a
yeah,
quick
yeah, go ahead.
example?
Yeah, I can't wait to sleep tonight and
So,
get my have another dream.
yeah, that's what happens to people. And also,
Yeah.
after they talk to me, the chances are excellent that you will remember a dream, you know?
Oh,
And
perfect.
so here's a woman who actually took a change. She finally
Mhm.
decided to speak up for herself. And it's not an arranged marriage, but kind of
Mhm.
felt like that because the
Yeah.
parents knew the parents, and her
Mhm.
fiance, he sure knew that he was her fiance, and her parents
Mm.
knew, and his parents knew. So there was an incredible pressure on this girl
Sure.
who finally, at 26 years old, decided she's going to speak up and break it off. She doesn't want
Wow.
to marry him. And she was anticipating her parents' explosive, get the language. It's all about
Mhm.
language. Their explosive reaction. And her dream, again, a one picture dream, that she's standing, looking up in the sky and sees a plane explode. And as for the
Mm.
solution, my question is, what power do you have? Because sometimes when I'm looking for a solution, my favorite method is to take the story of the dream outside to waking life and solve the puzzle outside the dream
Mm. Yeah, that
before
makes
you look
sense. Yeah.
back into it. And that's why
Yeah.
I asked her, if you were really on the street and you really looked up and saw a plane explode, my question is, what power, what control do you have over that? And the answer is, I have zero power
Yeah.
over a plane exploding. As well, you have zero power
Mhm.
over somebody else's reaction to something that's happening. So if you've
Mm.
decided that you don't want to marry this man, it's not a comment about him. It's a comment
Yeah, of
about
course.
you. And
Mhm.
however everybody is reacting, even though I so appreciate that it's difficult, it still is not in your power. We have no power to change anybody else
Sure.
or to control how they respond.
After the plane exploded, what was the next part of her dream?
That was it.
Hmm. So that was the awareness
That
that
was
I
it.
can't control that. Makes sense. Okay. So that's she's
I'm
aware that
doing
she can't
this.
control how they
I did
respond.
this,
Yeah.
and I can't
Mm-hmm.
control how they respond. So she's
Yeah.
kind of like the first dreamer who was also, it's strange because these dreams
Mm-hmm.
came from two different people about
Sure.
7 months apart, but still, sort of the lesson is very
Mm-hmm.
similar about us
Mm-hmm.
not having power over somebody else. You see?
That's fascinating. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's really interesting. We only have a few more minutes. Walk us through the second example as well.
The second example is Jessica, a woman who never speaks up about how she feels, comes with a recurring dream fragment that she's wiping dirt off the wall, and then the dirt comes back, and then she wipes it off, and the dirt comes back. So it's not just that the dream is recurring, the subject is recurring. And it was about the fact that she lives in the same building as her sisters. And every night, her sisters come over, and she loses her, and she loves her sisters and wants to be with them. And does she want to be with them every single evening when she gets home from work? 3 sisters together, night after night after night. So she was working up, expressing herself to find a way to say, like, one night once, because when I go to the gym, when you're first working a muscle, you're not going to overwork the muscle. You're going to start with a light weight, and you're going to use it a few times. And then, of course, you're going to be hurting for a few days after, but you keep building the muscle. And that's what she did. She spoke one night once. And then, so the next time the dirt appears on the wall, you maybe don't wipe it next time. Maybe you wait, and then you try it again. And before you know it, I am not here to tell anybody that change is easy. I am positively here to say that change is possible. And it is like working a muscle in a gym. You start building these different parts of yourself, and it's shocking how it's true that we don't have power to change anybody else except yourself. But when you change yourself, it is automatic that the people in your surrounding, they also change. Because, I mean, I've been married to Andy for 35 years, and 35 years ago, he sometimes had a temper like my late father, and he would open up a mouth to me. But once I started exercising the voice, the muscle of my voice, I think within about 3 years, he stopped yelling at me, and I haven't heard him yell at me in another like 25, 30 years. Because people get to know what they can expect. Right.
Yes. Unfortunately, Layne, our time is up. We could literally talk about this forever. There's so many things I want to say. I know my viewers and listeners are like, I want to learn more. If they want to find out more information about you, to also purchase your book, Have a Great Dream, book 1 and 2, to learn everything about you, to read all your columns, etc., where would they find all this information online?
You have 2 choices, and it gets you to the same place. You can go to haveagreatdream.com, or you can go to thedreamanalyst.com, and you'll find everything you need there.
Wonderful. Well, I had such a pleasure talking to you as always. You're welcome back on my show anytime. And viewers and listeners also know that if you can't find this information any other place, simply go to the show notes at jamesmillerlifeology.com, and I'll link you with all of Layne's information. Thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today.
Thank you so much.